All right, this was a recommendation of my wife's. See, she suggested that I explain why I have my Brooklyn Kayak PK11 outfitted the way that I do. And, you know, what are the conveniences and why do I have things where they are on my kayak? So let's go ahead and I'll turn this camera around. First thing you'll see is my action camera. That is a custom mount. Of course, I think you can tell by that, but there's no holes drilled. That's mounted right to the handle. There's no holes drilled. And each of these things I'll do an in-depth video about. I'll do a little short. And you'll notice that the cable, there's a cable coming off of it, goes inside. There's a small battery in there. This is where I keep my electronics battery. You'll see there's a little battery right there. Hopefully you can see it. That's what runs that action camera. My anchor's also down in there, and my rope. You can see there's a line here coming off. This particular kayak came outfitted with the anchor trolley. It came with an anchor trolley. You'll see I have a dive reel here. It is hooked to the T-track. I'm still working on these bolts. I need to get some acorn nuts. So this is my dive reel. That's what controls my anchor on the front, or I can move it around. It's on an anchor trolley, as I stated. My electronics, they're mounted on a 4-inch plastic T-track. I put that there. You'll see that my power goes in, it came back out inside there. That kept my battery and my wires short. I didn't want to run them all the way to the back or anything. That's where I need them. That little battery lasts me 2 or 3 days. I did it this way because I got it pushed all the way forward, you'll notice, and I have that thing on an angle, because if not, your feet will come into contact with it. So that's why I have it set up that way. I don't like to have things on my kayak. This coffee cups here, this is here, but these things are all, you notice that the side of the kayak is very clean, other than this. And I bring my fish in over here, or the fish will come in over here. And you'll notice again, this edge of the kayak is clean. Other than the tip of that paddle, there's really nothing for me to hook my line on or to get a fish hooked on. Typically, I try to net on this side because my net is right here behind me. I'll put the rod in my right hand, grab the net, and I'll do that. So at one point, I did have my front camera mounted there, but again, it was in the way. I couldn't get a good view with that. That's where I get the best view. I get my best view right there. It gets the entire cockpit and myself. You can see it in some of my videos. My paddle. I always keep a paddle. Got to have a paddle. You never know when you're going to get into shallow water. You can't pedal. I like to have my paddle locked down right there. I do not like this rope that they have, because then that means you got to keep pulling this thing, pulling this thing, pulling this thing. So I built a little custom mount that I can just lay this end on. So when I pull my paddle in, I just lay it down. This also, with it being set up that way, it doubles as a rod holder. So there are times when I will just take and lay my rod beside me. I can put the side of the rod, just lay it right there next to that twist knob, and I lay my rod back here, and it lays next to my paddle. So this just gives me, I can lay it there when I'm doing something in the cockpit. I do not like having it there because when I go to steer, I don't want this rod to hit. So I don't like to have a rod there when I'm steering. You'll notice that's the other thing with this. See, with that, I can turn this 90 degrees and the paddle isn't in the way. That's why it's off to the side like it is, and it sticks out. But it makes it easier for me to just, I don't have to look for it. I can feel it. I can just reach back. Once I latch it, well, I'll hook that. I'll have a hold of it here. When I feel it lay down in that cradle, then I just lock it down right here. That keeps that locked and secured. So, coming around, again, dive reel on a custom mount. Right here, you'll see a cleat. Right now, I'm anchored down with my power pole. I have a manual power pole. This is the cleat to keep it suspended up in the air when I don't have it deployed. My seat is raised 1 3/4 inches. See that riser? See that riser? Very inexpensive. Those seat risers cost me less than $10. These people online that are printing them on a computer or a 3D printer. If you want to go that route, that's fine. But I got a piece of PVC with an extra long T-bolt. That's all I did. It cost me less than $10. I had to scrap pipe laying around from when I built some things for this kayak and my other kayak. I also own a Lifetime Tamarack, which is paddle only. So I'm used to paddling. So the things in my cockpit are set up. If I were have to paddle, I can, and I'm not banging into all this stuff. I don't want anything in the way where I'm going to hit it with my paddle, nor do I want it in the way when I'm trying to land a fish. I don't want anything in my way for my line to touch, my pole to touch, anything. I want to be able to get that fish in the boat as fast as possible. Coming back around, I have my fish grippers and my pliers. They're just hooked right here. There's a hole in the seat, got a little carabiner there that keeps them secured. This here is for the rudder. One thing I don't care for about this kayak is how wide the footprint is. The direction that these, I wish these would have pointed more back this direction and kept my footprint small. When you look at this thing from the front, from the bow, they're spread very wide, and that you have to watch when you're near shore that you don't get hung up in the trees. My crate, everything on here, I'm not gonna go out and buy a $150 box. Everything on here I've custom made so I can get on the water. That's the purpose of me buying a Brooklyn Kayak, because I didn't want to spend $5,000 on a Hobie. This cost me just under $1,400. So my crate has 4 rod holders on it, 2 on this side, 2 on that side. I'm able to hold my stuff. Lanyards, do not need lanyards on everything. This is a very stable kayak. I can stand up in this thing very easily. Just stand up. I'm 58 years old. I do have pretty good balance, but the thing about it is it's a very stable kayak. You can fish in a standing position. We'll come back around here on this side. You'll see that I have my net in one of my rod holders. I'm still working on getting a paddle holder mounted here so I can hold my catch board. Again, if you look behind the seat, there's a ton of room. I have my little cooler here, has water and drinks in it, and a snack. There's plenty of room behind this seat. You'll notice that rod, it's just barely sticking up now. You notice I'm in 6 foot of water, okay? So that is a 10-foot solid fiberglass rod. I will do a video on how to make that. That is my favorite modification to this kayak, or any kayak that I have owned. I have one of those on my Lifetime Tamarack. It is one of my favorite modifications. It is a simple way to anchor in just seconds. You don't have to fiddle with a line and an anchor. It's a solid rod, and it's a shallow water anchor. Cost me less than $50. With inflation now, you're going to spend about $75. I'll do a video on that. I did not invent that. I found it on YouTube, and I copied somebody else. I will try to find him and mention his link. And then you'll notice I have my other action camera. It has a piece of insulation on it. I have had it fall before, and it's also ran on a little external battery. It's solar, so that one sits out and it charges constantly. It runs that little Picasso 4K camera all day long. So does the one inside my hatch on the bow. I don't have a problem running either of my cameras for a whole day of fishing. So I will do a video of my modifications and, you know, how I did them. Sorry for my hands getting in the way. But it was a good idea for my wife to suggest, you know, that why do I have the thing set up the way I do? And again, my cock, turn this back around. My cockpit, of course, there's my pedals. There's, you know, I try to keep everything as close to the side of the boat if possible, because I don't want anything in the way. That's out of the way. I don't hit it with my paddle. I don't hit it when I'm trying to boat a fish or cast. My dive reel's not in the way for my anchor trolley. And again, I just keep everything nice and clean, you know, at least from the seat forward. That way I don't have an issue. So, yep, that's another rundown of my kayak. Again, I'm going to do a video on how I mounted my action cameras, how I built my little custom mounts, even my electronics. My transducer is in the hole on the bottom side of the hull, like it's supposed to be. I had to create a custom mount for it too, so it would mount inside of the hole. Those electronics have side view. That's a Garmin. Trying to remember the name. It's not the UHD that I have on my small boat. That's the it's the same as the little $100 one, except it's 7-inch. That's a 7-inch with a side view. Has the normal down scan and the chirp. But yeah, it's I'm drawing a blank on it. But anyway, that's just a quick video of the layout of my cockpit and my kayak and why I have it set up the way I do. Again, so this is for this here, because the kayak came with the anchor trolley on the right side, which was okay with me. It came with that. I had to put the dive reel on this side, so it was here. My manual power pole, when the second I hook a fish, I deploy this anchor. You won't hear this on anybody else's channel, okay? I've held it tight to the chest for a long time. You need a power pole. This is why. When you hook a fish, you need to be able to anchor as fast as possible. If not, you're trying to pull the fish towards you, the fish is pulling you. You want to be anchored, so you have leverage on that fish. If you're moving, that fish is able to get slack in your line and throw your bait. Ask me how I know. So that's why I said my manual power pole is if I had to get rid of everything on this boat, that would be the one thing I kept, would be that manual power pole. I could do without the electronics, all the other anchors, the GoPros, whatever. That power pole helps me put fish in the boat. You won't hear that on anybody else's channel. They will not tell you that. But you want to be able to become stationary as fast as possible, because the fish, when it's pulling you towards itself, and if it starts to swim at you, you need to be able to take up line very fast. And if you are moving towards the fish, because whether wind's moving you or whatever. Now granted, I can only anchor solid in about 7.5 foot with a 10-foot rod. And of course that 1/2-inch rod, in high winds, that rod's bending. So it'll push me, but it slows me down immensely. So it's best from about 5 foot and less. And you get a good solid anchor. Now with this just little bit of wind here, with this little bit of chop on the water, I mean, it's very minimal. You know, this anchor holds me fine. Hopefully I got the rest of that in the video. All right, that's a quick walk around of my Brooklyn Kayak PK11 Pro 10.5 pedal kayak, and the modifications, why and where I have them, and what is the reason. Thanks.